Welcome back to the Capes and Tights podcast right here on capesandtights.com. I'm your host, Justin Soderberg. Once again, this episode is brought to you by our friends at Galactic Comics and Collectibles at galacticcomicsandcollectibles.com. We're back for Star Wars week here on the podcast, and we welcome writer Alyssa Wong and artist Liana Kangas to the podcast to discuss the Star Wars universe and so much more. Liana Kangas is a comic book writer and illustrator known for their work on Know Your Station, True Cult, an amazing number of variant covers out there, as well as working on a couple Star Wars Adventures comic books for IDW. Alyssa Wong is a comic book writer and author who has worked on books such as Deadpool, Psylocke, Star Wars' Dr. Aphra, I should say, Star Wars: The High Republic, Escape from Vallow novel with the fellow writer Daniel Jose Older, as well as their upcoming comic one-shot Star Wars: The High Republic Adventures, The Battle of Eridu, #1, which hits shelves on April 30th. So it's out now at your local comic shop. Together, the two of them wrote and illustrated Star Wars: The High Republic Adventures Annual #1, a story in there, which we discuss in detail on this episode. But before you listen to the Star Wars Week episode featuring Liana Kangas and Alyssa Wong, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, and all those places, as well as over on YouTube. And you can rate, review, subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and all your major podcasting platforms. But this is an episode for Star Wars Week featuring artist Liana Kangas and writer Alyssa Wong discussing the Star Wars universe. Enjoy, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. How are both of you?
Good.
Yeah,
good.
Good. I'm happy to be here.
I'm glad you both are here. So you two have been busy recently. I know Japan. There was this. What's going on? What's going on here? What have you guys been up to?
Well, Star Wars Celebration is next week, so
Yes,
know.
yeah.
I think that's where if you hear unease in my answer, it's only because of that. My first flight to Japan ever, and I'm like, ha, 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 ha.
Yeah, that's it's a long flight, I tell you. It's not a simple hop. It's skipping a jump. It's quite a travel experience there, huh? Yeah,
I'm a little. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm a little nervous too because it's also going to be my first time in Japan. I think I stopped by the Narita airport on one layover once when I was like 20. But I've never been to Japan, and I'm also going for Star Wars Celebration. So I'm super excited.
I need to book my ticket. I mean, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, come
There's
on,
always
let's
a reason
go.
to go to Japan. It might as well be Star Wars related. No, but it's kind of funny because going to a place that you've never been to before to celebrate something in the galaxy far, far away kind of like fits, right? I mean, if it's like in your backyard, it's like it doesn't feel like you're in another place. But going to Japan is actually kind of a cool experience on top of celebrating Star Wars.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. But both of you two are Star Wars creators, I'd like to say. You both create either artwork or stories based in the Star Wars universe. And we are celebrating a little bit of Star Wars love here on the podcast during these episodes. So we talked in the past, Leon, a little bit. We did a written interview about your history with Star Wars and so on and so forth. But do you want to give a little brief explanation of your relationship with Star Wars? Like, are you a big fan of it, or are you just like drawing it? What's your little history with being a fan of Star Wars?
Yeah. My mom, who had me fairly young, she was a huge Jim Henson fan. And I think, was it Frank that voices Yoda, is in that same realm of creators that she really loved a lot. So Star Wars was one of the first movies that I was introduced to by her on repeat. That and like things like The Dark Crystal. Now, I'm not sure I should have ever watched those that young, but it's fine. I am who I am today because of that. But I think her introduction for both of us allowed us to experience, the 1, 2, and 3 in theaters and like really get to immerse ourselves in that sort of like new age like filmmaking as well. And that's kind of like where I fell in love with all these characters again and things like that. So have been a hardcore fan, and also having a best friend growing up that was also honestly
Mhm.
more obsessed with Star Wars than I was. Which, like, how, number one, and two, like, just feeds your, it's an echo chamber of like fandom. So like we're just, it's nice to have, and now working and living in this community of amazing creators that also love it is like, what a passion, what a dream,
Mhm.
you know?
I love talking to people who've worked on things like Star Wars because it's so funny to think about like these things that you love growing up, and all of a sudden now it's like pinch me moments almost like I'm
Yeah.
actually drawing a droid or I'm writing
Oh,
about it's like insane.
that is the one weird thing. And just a brief segue is
Yeah.
that because I moved around a lot in my 20s, I reconnected with all my high school best friends to play Star Wars Fantasy Flight D&D games, because I had always seen the books in comic shops, but like never had done it. And so I reconnected and became like infinitely close with my high school friends. And we all were just huge huge nerds. And I've also played the other pre-Fantasy Flight D&D one with old friends of mine back home as well. So heinous.
That's awesome. I love that stuff, those connections and things like that. But for Alyssa, for you, I mean, what's your connection? What's your story, your history with Star Wars?
I grew up watching the original trilogy. My I think my dad probably showed it to me also too young. But I just remember being very little and thinking, I want to eat that tauntaun. Like that's my dream. I desperately want to eat the tauntaun. So I was like, yeah, this is fun. I remember when I was very little and I saw episode one also in theaters. High five, Liana. Um,
Hell yeah.
I was like, oh, I want to be a pod racer more than anything. Like that's what I want to do. Uh, death-defying racing, desert canyons, janky machines. Let's go. Um, as you can tell, that didn't exactly happen for me. But
Oh.
you know, but I went to college and I met a lot of fans who basically convinced me that Star Wars wasn't for people like me. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm just never gonna talk about this anymore. And maybe they're right. Maybe Star Wars isn't for me. Because if this is what Star Wars fandom looks like, then maybe I don't want to be part of it.
Mhm.
Um, and much, much, much later, I remember seeing episode 7 in theaters and my whole brain waking up and thinking, this feels like a Star Wars where people like me could exist. Um, I'm not sure exactly what it was about that film, but something about the writing, something about just the whole vibe of it. I don't know. I was like, oh, this woke up a piece of my brain. And then when I got tapped to write the comic Dr. Aphra, um, I fell headfirst back into Star Wars and back into love for Star Wars. So I actually think working on Star Wars is really the thing that reignited my love for it, which is pretty cool.
I can see why it's kind of funny. It's like you talk to some people and it's like, are you a big fan heading into writing something like Star Wars, or are you just really good at writing Star Wars? So that's why Marvel or Dark Horse wants you to write Star Wars, is because you're just really good at doing that. But yeah, it's fun to see that. And when you do live in something like that and you have to, you write a number of issues, I could see why you're entrenching yourself in it. I also love the fact that like episode 7. I always talk to people and I'm like, people have their love hate relationship with Star Wars. They love certain ones, they hate certain ones. The fact that episode 7 is one, it has like an actual like attachment to you as a person makes me so happy, because whether you like these films or not, they're a Star Wars film for someone. There's someone's some generation's films for Star Wars. The first ones they saw potentially are 7, 8, 9. And like some people's first Star Wars they saw were episodes 1, 2, and 3, and so on and so forth. So Alyssa, you being attached to loving Star Wars Episode 7 and that bringing you back into it makes me so happy.
Thank you.
Anyone
I
else
that
also? Oh, sorry.
no, you go ahead.
I was gonna say the diversity of 7, 8, and 9, incredible. It feels more real. And then also diehard Solo fan here. So as much as everyone hates that movie, apparently, I'm like, every Star Wars movie is for me.
Yeah, and that's my big thing. I've always said, and I've repeated it almost every year I've done these Star Wars episodes, was that I don't care whether you like, as long as they keep making Star Wars stuff, I'm gonna be happy. Good, bad, or ugly. I'm like, it's something that I can go to the theaters or live in that world for a little bit longer. It doesn't really matter to me if it's the award-winning film or book or comic or whatever it may be, or it's not that great. I just love the fact that we still get to see these things, because I think for a lot of people, the original three movies was like the end. That was like, okay, we're not going to get any more things from this. And the fact that it's gone so much further now, to the point where, Alyssa, you get to write a comic, or Liana, you get to draw a comic or a story that has Star Wars characters in it, still it's just beyond me, and I love it. So keep making stuff. I don't care. Make some obscure movie that I don't like, the character that was mentioned once. I don't care. I'll watch it. I'll read the comic, whatever it may be. It's
That
it's
makes me
it's
so happy.
Yeah, see, see, I'm glad, and I think, and then your Dr. Aphra run was amazing, and so I think that a lot of people, that's a character I'm still waiting for not to be on screen yet. I'm still like, or like fully on.
Insane. Yeah.
How there's not
Like,
a mini a
how?
series on
Yeah.
Disney Plus or something that with Dr. Aphra, and I'm still confused to go, but maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
They got to get Alyssa to write the script, though. You know what I mean? You can write for TV, right? It's totally fine.
So it's funny, I had this conversation with my spouse. I was like, hey, if I ever say I want to write for TV, you have to tell me, Alyssa, you told me not to let you write for TV because,
Oh,
well, so the thing is, like, obviously I love writing, but I love puzzles
Mhm.
and I love challenges. So if I don't know how to do something, I instantly am just like, I need to do it. I
Mhm.
want to learn how to do it. And I get so excited and I dive headfirst into it. And this is great, but the problem is I've done that for basically all of my hobbies. So now I don't really have anything that I can do that's super relaxing, that still has its magic because it's got that mystery.
everything's monetized. Oh,
Everything's
no.
monetized.
Yeah.
Like I love video games, but after working in games, I'll play games and my brain it's always just churning. It's like, oh, that was an interesting choice. Oh, I wonder how they built this. I don't know how I feel about this. Do you think they run like what engine are they using? I'm just like, shut up, shut up, shut up. Like, let's just go hit that guy with a big sword. Like, that's all I
Yes.
want.
Yeah.
Um,
My brain does the same thing when I read comics now. There's only
Yep.
a couple series that I can completely check out. And it's like artists that I'm very familiar with their work, and like writers that I'm very familiar with their work, that I don't have to overanalyze, because I've probably overanalyzed their work so many times that I'm like, oh yeah, this makes sense. And I can enjoy the experience, you know.
mhm.
I've never
And
heard anyone else talk about it like that.
I
Really?
find really.
Yeah.
I find myself similar in the side of the podcasting or review side of things, where I find myself like reviewing things all instead of just like, I very rarely am I picking up a book, a trade or something like that, where I'm not like, oh, I could write something about that. It was more, or talk about it on the podcast. So I never always enjoy it as much anymore, where I'm just like, I just want to read this old series that I just stumbled upon. I didn't know that there was a Stoker's Dracula series at Marvel, and I was like, oh, I kind of want to read this trade, and I was about to pick it up, and I'm like, I want to buy it instead of put it on the shelf, because I'm not gonna read it because I have so much other stuff that I need to read or want to read, and it's just gonna sit there. So I'm like, cool. I bet I feel more like I'm gonna buy it to support my local comic book shop, just to buy it and put it on my shelf, so it's not at his shelf, than I am actually gonna read it right now because of that. But yeah, so I can see that where you're coming from on that, Alyssa. It's definitely when a passion comes like that. But you probably could write for TV, so I'm okay with that.
So this is kind of fun. So one, I appreciate that. Thank you guys. Two, the thing is I am so tempted. I'm just like every time I see something that's I love, I'm just like, I need the script. I want to read it. I need to like figure it out. And I'm just like, no, stop, 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 stop. But that's the thing. For the right project, I'm always like, I'll
Yeah.
do it. It
Mhm.
doesn't if it's the right project, whatever medium, I'm down to do it. And I just finished up a project that I can't talk about,
Mm.
but was a bit of experimental tech. Um, and that was something I haven't done since God, like 2018 or something. And it was one of those like, I swore I'd never go back, but one more, we'll do it for one more job. You know, it's
Yeah.
whatever it is, if it's the right project,
Yeah.
I'm like, let's go.
Hmm.
So I guess see you in 2 years when I'm inevitably doing something that I said I shouldn't do because I was like, let's find out.
Yeah,
Let's just find
exactly.
out.
That's what we have. This conversation. We'll come back to this conversation again and be like, "See, we told you so. You're gonna do something." No, but I get. But even if it's a TV thing, I mean, even if they did create a Doctor Aphra series, something like that, let's be honest, your issues of Doctor Aphra over at Marvel are likely going to be, read by people
Source
and
material. It
source
has to
material.
be.
So I
Yeah.
would think that there's at least a consultation, or being a consultant on this on the film on the series is probably in your future if they
Oh
end
yeah,
up
maybe
doing it.
that's how you dip your toe, you know?
Yeah. You just be a consult on a series, and the next thing you know, they're giving you your entire series that you're writing, directing, everything.
Ah!
We're manifesting this for you. You don't
Yeah,
even have to
see?
think about it. It's fine.
You know what? Please keep manifesting this for me because I desperately want to see what a real like TV writer's room looks like. Um, like I don't know. I've always been really curious. And I have a bunch of friends who work in TV. And uh, fun fact that I learned when I started writing comics professionally, there is no standard format for comic scripts. Everyone
Yep.
does it completely differently.
Yep.
Um, so a lot of I've seen a lot of comic scripts from other people who are written like screenplays.
Hmm.
Um, because that makes sense and that's what they're used to. So when I think about comic script writing and screenplay writing, I think these two things are pretty linked in my head. I don't do the screenplay thing because I don't know how to do that. Uh, my process is a little different and uh, it's a lot briefer, I think, than some of the really in-depth screenwriting stuff that I've seen. Um, but yeah, I mean, God, no, I'm talking myself into this. Don't, no.
Well,
But thank you.
here's the thing though, is I'm 100%, or I'll share the credit with Liana here. We're 100% going to take credit for this if you do get a job writing for Star
Yes.
Wars or something like that, because we talked about it here. Even if Lucasfilm's already thinking about it, we're going to take credit here on this
Full
episode,
credit.
saying full credit
Yep.
on this right now of saying that you should have write TV shows. But yeah, I mean, as on that, I mean, Dr. Aphra, I'm just going to continue harping on that a little bit. Is a character that has quickly become one of my favorites in the Star Wars universe, some of that, and that's why I'm like, why the hell? I mean, this feels like such a great opportunity. I just don't. Sometimes I feel like it's like swings and misses that I don't understand why they don't do more with it. And I'll say that, you know, one of these days we'll probably see something in the future for sure on that. But the both of you together worked on a Star Wars project together. Did you two know each other prior to working on this issue? Like, obviously, you probably knew each other through the industry, but like, were you acquaintances before this issue or this annual?
Yeah.
Okay.
So funnily, we met through a good mutual friend of ours. And finally got to meet in person at a convention and just clicked. Yeah. No.
Columbus 2024.
Oh,
It was so long ago.
wait. That feels like 8 years ago. What the heck?
I know.
Yeah. No. I'm so lucky because I wanted to work with you forever.
Same.
And
I think I remember sending you, oh, I drew Dr. Aphra, and I was like, hey, can I send this to you? And you were like, oh my God, yes. And I was like, my heart, one of my favorite writers, you know? And
okay,
then turns
huh?
out we have a mutual best friend, which we had no idea. And so our best friend
Uh-huh.
was like, hang out, hang out. So we finally did.
Hmm.
And there we
Oh.
go. And the rest is history right now. The world is better for this now, right? Because of this,
I am
because
very
this.
honored. I did not know that you wanted to work with me.
Oh my God. Wait, I didn't know I was one of your favorite writers, really?
Mhm. Yeah.
Huh?
Gee, this is crazy. See, listen. It's like kismet. It is what it is. But who doesn't want to work with you, Liana? Let's be honest. You're on everybody's short list. Don't even. Don't even kid yourself. Which is actually kind of funny because like I'm scrolling through and I knew the two of you worked on this annual, which is the it's so funny with these new High Republic and the phases and all this stuff. It's like the title of the comic book is like 7 years long, but it's like what Star Wars, the High Republic, Phase 3, Annual #1, and then
Yep.
obviously it's an annual, so it has like the anthology feel to it. So there's different stories in it and so on and so forth. And it's so funny because I'm like some stories at the very beginning of these annuals or these anthology type style stories have like the name of the story, who's the artist, who's the writer, who's the colorist, and all that stuff like separated. Whereas this issue has like the writers are all these people, the artists are all these people, and so on and so forth. And it doesn't kind of like pair them up to which ones are doing the stories individually. And then you don't really know like where it is. So I'm like flipping through it, I'm reading, and I'm like, I flip the page and I get to this story, and I'm like, this is it. I know which one it is. Just solely on the fact of the artwork. I'm like, I didn't have to read anything or do anything. I'm like, okay, this is Liana's artwork for sure. This is the
Mhm.
facial expressions and things like that on people. I'm like, this is obviously Liana doing this artwork. And it's a fun story. And it's a great, unique story in its own thing. But like, is this something, Alyssa, that Dark Horse approached you with this story specifically and say, "Hey, we're putting this in the annual, and we want to, want you to tell it." How does this go about? How did you get to the story in this annual?
So, I wrote my first book, which is a wild thing to say. Co-wrote a book called Escape from
Yes.
Vallow. Oh, you have it! How exciting! Uh, yeah. So
I
Escape from
will say, don't feel
Vallow.
that special because I do have all of them, but that's. I want you to feel special. You can't see them all; they're right here. So I only own this one, actually. If you think about it,
Oh no,
yeah.
I've got them all. But it's always so cool to see that somebody else has it. Every single time, it's like brand new. It
Oh,
feels like the first time. I'm
it's
just like, whoa, really?
and your co-writing partner on this thing, Daniel Jose Alder, is also
Oh,
phenomenal. So I'll tell you that right there.
Yeah.
oh, he was a dream to co-write with, and honestly, probably the only person I'd ever co-write with again. Um, yeah, no, I think that this book was so wild because it was like the first time I had written a book, like a novel, the first
Mm,
time I'd written middle grade, the first time I'd co-written, um, and like in my introduction to Team Luminous for the High Republic. So it was a lot of firsts, and it was such a great process. Daniel's an amazing collaborator, and so is Liana. There's a character in Escape from Vallow who started out in our early drafts sort of being like was supposed to have a very small part, but as we kept going, she kept growing and growing and growing, and eventually, like we both kind of fell in love with her, and so um, Daniel was like, I'm gonna put her in High Republic Adventures, and I knew I was gonna be doing some short fiction for Star Wars Insider, and I was like, I'm gonna write, I'm gonna write me some Drigget stories. I don't play favorites, but if I did, she'd be my favorite. She's my girly pop. And she's a mess, which is also why she's my girly pop.
Yeah. Like not quite a villain, but definitely leaning on the you love to write a baddie.
mhm,
Like
Love it, love it.
you
That
love
girl
a
is.
baddie.
We love a baddie. So yeah, so with this annual, um, they and my boss approached me, and they're like, we'd love a story from you. And my boss was like, what about a story about Drigget? And I was like, oh no, oh, that's gonna be so hard. Yeah, no, I'm in. Let's go. Um,
My
so this
favorite subject.
uh, who?
yeah,
Oh,
let
never
me do some
never.
research on this character. Hold on.
God, she lives in my head rent free 24/7. I think about her all the time, which is I'm just like my favorite daughter. Um, but yeah, I mean, this story is uh the story is a lot of fun. It also is like it takes place on the cusp of the final act of like the big finale of phase 3 of the High Republic, our final phase.
Mhm,
Um, this is on the brink of the Battle of Eriadu, which I also wrote a one shot for that's coming out this month at the
mhm,
end of this month, and it's very intense, it's very emotional, and so basically we've seen Drigget before at her worst. and her best, which is still pretty gnarly. Um, and she's got this very intense, tough facade because she's like, I have to survive in a world that wants to kill me.
Mhm.
Um, and she's basically been playing double agent. She joined the Nile because she essentially got drafted. She's like, I really don't have a choice. It's this or death.
Yep.
Um, and but she hates them, and she hates them for occupying her home planet, for like putting her and everybody who she loves into this horrible situation, and for destroying her life, and in a lot of ways destroying her innocence.
Mhm.
So
Hmm.
her whole thing is she's like, I'm gonna live in this house so I can find the floor plan so I can burn this place to the ground. And so we get to see her in this annual story in a rare quiet moment and a rare tender moment with Emilsine Tarkin,
Mhm.
um, who is a delight, and probably the only person that she trusts, period, at this point in her life. Um, and I kind of want Liana to talk a little bit more about this because I feel like I've been talking about this and I am nosy and I'm like, tell me everything, Liana.
I
Well,
love, like,
Liana,
Emil
like,
Scene is my favorite. Like, you love Drigget, but I'm like, I would draw an entire Emil Scene, like, series if was ever offered because I love her.
Yeah, it's, oh, it's my girl. Let's do it, dude. I don't know if it ever happens. Let's do a whole series. She's a
I
delight.
love that you brought up that Drigget was like, you know, vulnerable to this friendship. I think it's like her one weakness
Hmm.
because you can see it in the story. And I think it allows for her to recognize that she has someone to lean on, even though she knows she can't, you
Hmm.
know, in a sense. But also, I think my favorite thing to do, which I'm a big Easter egg person and I'm also a big lore person. I got to ask to design an item in the story, which I don't want to spoil, but it's a Tarkin heirloom, and I did a ton of research on like what it was made of and how the design was, and sent it in even before like sending in pages because I was like, this is very important to me. And also because I was just like, I would like to contribute something
mhm,
to like her as a character in general, and
mhm.
like I like that it ties in with Drigget. So um, yeah, I really, this is a very sweet story. And if there's not one story that you ever find in any Star Wars like compilation about hope, but this one is definitely like hope, but then is it like, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's the
it's
kind of writer Alyssa is, though.
Ah, ha,
Keeping you on your
ha.
toes, keeping you on your toes.
hey,
Ah.
we're all here for it. I'll tell you that much. But I
Oh.
mean, Liana, how did so you? It's been since Star Wars Adventures, right? Then you did some actual sequential pages for Star Wars. So I mean, how it's been? Let's just say it's been too long. I'll tell you that much.
A couple
It's
years,
been
yeah.
3 or 4 years that since you've done this. How did this connect? How did this come about that you actually got this gig?
I think Alyssa, did you recommend me?
I was like, we were talking artists, and I was like, when, Liana, when, and like, yeah, let's go. So yeah, I
That's
mean,
awesome.
I was gonna say, in both sides recommended you. So
That's amazing. Oh my God. I love our editor, Spencer, and Joe are awesome. I'd never worked with Joe before, but I worked with Spencer on like Stranger Things and things like
Mm,
that. And it was really nice to work with them again, especially with Alyssa, because, you know, having had the experience of working with Lucasfilm, like, you know, approval processes and stuff like that, I really like that team and I like
mhm,
how they communicate with everybody. And um, it, especially like working with Alyssa, I was like, I don't know if I could have done it without them because High Republic stuff is so dense. And so like I was listening to the audiobook Return to Valo, and I was asking the high school best friend group literally John, our DM, he is like an encyclopedia. So he was like describing High Republic to me, and I was like, okay, what can I go in and research? Because it's like, it's kind of like most very famous large IPs where you're like, you have so much content or sorry, art and like stories to pull from, but you're like, okay, where do I pull from to like really get in the mindset of like, this is such an intense uh like Iridu and everything is like such an intense storyline, and Alyssa references a lot of these major events that I was like, I want to make sure that it does it justice.
Yeah.
While also like running the story along. So
Yeah.
You're so powerful, and I appreciate this so much about you. I remember you sent me the your sketches that you did of the heirloom, and I was like, I lost my mind. I don't remember if it was in the car or something, but I was like, ah! I got so excited. I still have it saved on my phone. I mean, like the original like version that you did before any
the changes,
revisions.
yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And I love that you went and asked all your friends because the High Republic's dense. There are reading lists
Yeah.
online, and those look intimidating. I was like, huh? Um,
I didn't
I was,
even know that Grand Tarkin like was betrothed to somebody and like they didn't want to marry or something. And then I used something from that wife's planet in the thing that I created because I was like, oh yeah, we went full levels. Like, I
oh
hope that
my
Lucasfilm
God.
knows how serious I am when it comes to that. That's why I was
Uh,
like, oh, I can't wait to text Alyssa this because I was like, like very excited.
well, I was gonna say if they don't know, then next time I see them, they will know
Mm-hmm.
I
because
love that.
because this is it's so cool, and I appreciate that so much because I also do a ton of research. Like when
It's the best part of the job.
it's so
Like,
good. I love it because whenever I step into an IP,
Mm-hmm.
no matter how familiar I am with it, which usually is beginning a new project, is sort of medium to not so familiar with, if I'm being really honest.
yeah.
Star Wars is like the one exception, but there's so much Star Wars that I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, you look around, you're like, you know what? I thought I knew anything. I don't know anything.
Yeah.
Um, so I love research, and whenever I write a script for anything, even if it's like, this is script number 14
Mm-hmm.
of however, but especially number ones and standalones, I want it to feel welcome, to whoever's stepping into it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really important, like, say this script, as we're right at the cusp of this battle, that story between Drigget and Emilsine is our story. And
Mm-hmm.
so figuring out how to lay the groundwork of being like, here's how we got here without it being obtrusive and to make it feel really organic. So if you're like a huge buff, you're like, oh, here we go, here we go, here we go. And if you're just picking up for the first time, you're like, oh, I totally get what the story is about. It is about this intense emotional connection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Um, and uh, I want to build a scaffolding that people can play in, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Where it doesn't feel intimidating, where people don't end up feeling the way I did when I was in college, where it
Yeah.
was like, if you don't know everything, then you can't be here. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, get in here. Um,
Yeah.
I hope you like Bi Panic because there's a lot of that in this story.
It's crazy how quickly I was like, "Yay, High Republic! This is amazing!" To the point where like, holy shit, there's a lot of High Republic stuff out there right now. Like, it went from like, Charles's first book to like now I'm like the collection of books is massive alone. Then there's the
An
different
implosion
phases, and
timeline. Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
all of a sudden
You're
out of
like,
nowhere I'm like,
whoa.
cool, I get to start at the beginning, and then I'm like, oh my god, I'm behind. And that's I think where you're coming from, Alyssa, a little bit. It's like there is this point where it almost felt like at the very beginning, like I said, the first novel to come out and the first comics to come out in this High Republic era was like, oh cool, I can start. This is me. I'm starting fresh. I can jump into this without knowing much. To quickly being to the point where like now you felt like you guys mentioned Liana about researching, like you don't have to read the whole thing to do this story, but like knowing where to go and where to do that. It quickly became that world of what Marvel and DC to me have been recently, where it's like we have a book club in my local comic book shop where we read trade paperbacks once a month, and we do very little Marvel and DC now because of the fact that it's like without knowing much before that. So if you have new comic book readers and you read a trade, even if it's a number 1 through number 5 trade, there's still a point where they're referencing characters or places or events that happened. And if you don't know them, some people feel lost. So there is that sense. So having these stories, these one shots, these anthology stories, these annuals, having some stories that are like, you can just live in this story for a little bit. Yes, if you want more context, you want more to go on, continue reading, read the next one shot or whatever, or go back and read more. But like, you can live in this story for right now. You don't have to, know everything to get into this spot. Which is glad. I'm glad, and then I think you nailed it on the head there, Alyssa. And the artwork is phenomenal. Like I said, it's just there's certain. I wouldn't say this, and all the artwork of the entire annual, the whole thing is great. Like I'm not saying there's no one, whatever. But it was just it was kind of funny. You flip through the first couple pages, and I'm like, oh, this is beautiful. This is great story. And then I get to the next page, I'm like, yes, this is what I'm here for. This is what I signed up for. This is why I bought this issue.
Let's go.
Let's do this.
I'm sorry. I keep talking because I'm like, I feel like I'm talking too much, but I was so excited to work with Liana because I was like, this is a deeply emotional, intense story, and it's really important to me that whoever the artist is able to do that really intense character work and acting. Because I've worked with a lot of incredible artists, and a lot of specifically incredible artists who are really, really good at fight scenes. But I think that finding someone who can do the full range of character acting in a way that feels like it just hits. That's, in my opinion, a lot harder. But I mean, it's probably also the pool of the fact that I've been writing a lot of superhero comics.
Yes.
But for me, I'm like, at the heart of it, every fight scene is just a character moment. People love to be like, well, I think this person would win because their power level is like over 9,000. And I'm like, I don't care. If you pit Superman against a kitten, like the kitten can win if the story needs the kitten to win.
Yeah.
And there's some fight scenes in our story where certain people win for certain reasons that you find out, like there are layers and layers you find out as the pages go by, which is wild for a story that is not only a one shot but really short.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And
speaking of, like, fight scenes, I am not good at those, but working with you and our editors, I was like, I think I leveled up in a way that like I don't think I would have in a long time because of that opportunity. You know what I mean? Like,
that's amazing, dude. Oh, that makes me so happy because you did such a great job.
I mean, it is missing Satan references and cheeseburgers, but other than that, I think it was great.
Oh man.
I almost wore my shirt, my shirt that you sent, Liana, the Stan Satan. I almost wore it. It's on my water bottle here. I have a sticker on my water bottle on that stuff too. But like, my son gets so mad that I get this your letter, your postcard, your bright colored letter in the mail, Liana, and it's not for him. And
I'll have to start including little stickers for him.
But I'm like looking, I'm like, oh, this is for Dad. He's like, oh, I didn't get a package. I didn't get something. Like, Jesus. Is he setting up this thing? And the problem is, if it's like looks like a regular piece of mail, he's like, he doesn't really care. But because it always comes in some sort of bright colored envelope, he's always like, oh, is this for me? I'm like, no, this is not. I mean, yeah, his grandfather is a pastor, and if he wore a sticker around that says Satan on it, I'm pretty sure that would probably not go that well. But
yeah.
You know what?
The context of it. I know that's the hard part.
Yeah.
No,
I was gonna say, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Listen.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Please go ahead.
No, okay. I just think it's great. It's just great to see the different things. I love the fact seeing all the creator stuff that you've done, Liana, recently. You create your own stuff, the True Cult, the stuff like that. Like that stuff to me is I'll always read that stuff and look at that stuff. But seeing you back in the world of Star Wars was a lot of fun too, because I just like I said, I am really a big fan. As you know, this is not news to you. I'm a big fan of your artwork, and seeing your interpretations, representations of characters that are in a big, pretty popular world and the benefit you get is you're working in a world that isn't really that old. Like this
Yeah.
universe of High Republic, or this era of High Republic, isn't that old. So there's not a lot you can like screw up in a sense. But like it's Alyssa probably knows too. Like you could have written Dr. Aphra not how people expected it in the first two volumes, and people could have been very upset with you on the internet. And Star Wars fans are very they're very vocal about when something doesn't go the way they hoped it would go. And luckily, like I said, you two get to work in this era that's like, hey, there's not much to go on here. I can't write this wrong because there's not much history behind it.
That's the most exciting thing about working on the High Republic is um it's alive.
Hmm.
It's we're all making it together at the same time. And yeah, you get to make stuff that is fresh and brand new because you're not
Hmm.
constrained by everything we've seen in film and in previous media. You don't have,
Get
it doesn't
to,
have to be about Darth Vader. It doesn't have to
Yes.
be about Vader.
yeah, you get to lay the groundwork too,
Yep.
which is
Hmm.
so cool. Like that is like being like an architect, like so to speak, right? Is such a like I think that's a pretty legendary job
Hmm.
in terms of working on an IP, because like it's fun to contribute, but like being able to create like major characters that people will relate to one day
Yep.
and like see themselves in is like such a that's like the best part of our job, like
Yeah.
by far, in my opinion,
Well,
sometimes.
I love the seeing the people like you go into like my buddy's comic book shop, you see an issue on this is the first comic book appearance of such and such character in Star Wars and so on and so forth. It's like this is kind of cool that like you created stuff, an item, we'll say, for this issue that's the first appearance of said thing. And like this is like
Yeah.
gonna go down like if it's ever in a movie somewhere, it's like this annual will be like the spot where people are like, oh, this is the oh, I remember seeing that in there. And whereas if you create something that's like in that in a Star Wars, in between two of the films, there's a little less creation on that. It's more just writing a story that someone else started the basis on it. So yeah, it's really cool to see, and I'm all for it. When the High Republic was announced at the very beginning, I was like, let's do this. And now the next stage is probably bringing all this stuff to other mediums, TV, film, things like that. And I'm hoping some of these characters we actually get to see interpretations on screen because it'd be really cool to see,
Speaking of
pulling from
first
some of these stories.
appearances, can I mention that our first appearance of the one thing that I'm like, I almost forgot that I contributed, which is Crash the Rat, that I lovingly called after Alyssa's username. Because I did so much research on rats in Star Wars, um, to where I found one that exists and it has six legs. And so I drew one in one of the panels and I started tweeting about it, and everyone was getting hyped the F up over this rat. And I was like, listen, I want this to be the next like Jeff the Shark, okay? I want Kraft to have his own little kids book. Like I just want him to live his best life and only be written by Alyssa in the
Oh,
future. Or at least the groundwork by
yeah,
Alyssa. And then,
I love this rat. Listen, if you ever want to do like a silly fan comic or whatever, I will write
I
you
do.
as
I do.
much Crash the Rat as
Crash
you
the
want.
Rat. That
Because
would be a
Crash the Rat deserves to have a spotlight. You know what I mean? Just
I
When are
love
we gonna see
that's
the feature
perfect.
film, Crash the Rat feature
Oh my
film?
God.
sorry, all the important human Jedi who've
Yes, we
been
don't
part of
care.
this from book
Yeah.
one. We're here for the six-legged rat. I'm here for the six-legged rat.
It probably would be super popular too. That's the thing. It's like one of
Everyone's
those
like,
things that there's no connection to anything other than the comic. It's like, let's do this.
what's your favorite part of High Republic? Well, there was this one rat.
He's so cute. He's got six legs. Like he's perfect.
I
I
just
Perfect.
love
want the
that.
references later on to be referencing Crash the Rat, like they do Womp Rats and things like that. Like there's references later on.
Yes.
Like it doesn't have to be this huge overarching thing. It's just like randomly someone was like, "Oh yeah, Crash the Rat," and then like it just moves on to the next thing, and you're in the theater going, "Oh oh oh," and everyone's like, "What is going on right now?"
Hmm.
That's the future
I,
of it. That's what I'm hoping for you guys. They're right there. But yeah, it's fun to see. I said both of you, and I said like I've actually, I know Alyssa probably doesn't know this, but you were on a short list for a long time to get on the podcast.
Oh wow.
So there's that, and then it lucked out that I was able to reach out to to Kelly and say, hey, I would love to have the two of them on. Like, hey, I actually can do this. This is great. So it worked out really well because, the book and then the comics and Dr. Aphra and all that connection and stuff like that too.
I
And
was
then,
about to say you should have
yeah,
Alyssa on for an episode anyway, because like
yeah,
I love when you interview authors. Like,
yeah. It's
Oh,
fun.
yeah.
I do authors too, but yeah, so it's a lot of fun to discuss Star Wars with people that work in the trenches and like I said, it's been Liana, I was like at the point where like if I had you back on for Star Wars week and just talked about Star Wars and you hadn't done this annual, I'm like, okay, we're going back to that well a little bit more. Okay, Liana, you did a couple issues of Star Wars Adventure. Like, okay, at some point, someone's gonna be like, okay, can you get someone else on, please, to talk
yeah,
about
you're
Star
like,
Wars?
I guess Liana's the yearly May host
Yeah,
now. Like,
it's
what's happening?
and so I was like, oh yeah, and then yeah, but like it's fun, and I'm glad. Like I said, I want more. I want more Liana artwork in Star Wars. So hopefully this leads to more, and I hope Alyssa, you do an excellent job at all of your writing, but I hope you stay in Star Wars for a long time too. I hope they don't push you out.
Well, I love Star Wars deeply and truly. I was like, if I can pick only one IP that isn't
Yeah.
mine to write for the rest of my life, it'd be Star Wars. Like
Okay.
hands down, sorry to everybody else.
We are so
I
lucky to have you.
I can't tell you again anything about what I'm
Hmm.
working on, but what I can say is I'm definitely working on something. Uh, and I might be working on something that I'm stoked about. And it may or may not revisit multiple characters that we've seen.
That's
I
awesome.
will I will tell you this though. Uh, I did ask for something that will be coming out soon. I don't know if it's been announced yet, but it's happening. I did ask for an Emilcine Easter egg. So there, if all goes well, there will be a portrait of her hanging in somebody's house.
Yes.
Like a really beautiful, like gorgeous portrait. So
That's awesome.
I cannot wait.
That's phenomenal.
That's
That's
awesome.
so much fun. And then Star Wars is what we're here to talk about and stuff like that too. But you are writing Psylocke right now, and that's coming out from Marvel, as well as you have the one shot coming out, or just it's coming out. This will be out, so it'll be on the shelves already by the time this hits the airwaves. But the Star Wars one shot about Eridu, the Battle of Eridu, out there right
yeah,
now too. But you're busy. Alyssa, you said you would love to, would you write another novel? Was that experience fun? I said you like to challenge yourself, but like,
yeah. So my original background is I'm a short fiction writer.
okay.
And everything I write sort of Katamari balls into the next thing. So uh, as someone who loves short fiction, because again, it's a challenge, it's a little
Mm,
puzzle. It's how much can you make somebody feel in what ways in 3,000 words, which sounds like a lot, but is actually like what it was like 15 pages or
mm,
whatever, maybe.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you build that entire journey and do it in an efficient enough way that it is just this small, intense. How many knives can I put in you in 15 pages? And how do I do it in ways you don't expect?
yeah.
Um,
How do I
and
make you feel everything?
how do I make you feel everything? My goal is by the time you finish a story, you feel like you're like, I just underwent a whole experience that I'm shaken. And then you're like, you look back and you're like, what do you mean it was only 15 pages? So writing a novel is, I was like, how many words? That's like so, I don't know if I can do that. Middle grade tends to be about 30,000, so that's a
Yeah.
lot bigger. Uh, Escape from Valo, we went a little ham. It's over 60,000.
Hmm.
Um, and they had to redesign the spine for the book.
It's a thick boy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I mean, I hope that I was looking at it, I'm like, hope there's no fat in this because I mean, enough fat that it tastes good.
I love
But
this.
like,
If you look at it, it's like this is Jose's
ah,
other book, and this is the one you
Sam.
guys did together. So it's
Sam.
double the size.
is, well,
At
double
least
the
that
authors.
designer.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it's
I was
two
like,
two
at
times
least
the
that
author. So
designer.
yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Sorry for the extra work, designer. I'm so sorry. It was such a
It's
great
all
Looks
good.
perfect.
experience. But
It looks
like,
great.
I think writing a novel on my own is still an unknown. So it's like I
Mhm.
know I can write a book now, by which I mean I know I could write that specific book that is now out.
Mhm.
I've talked to a bunch of novelists, and they're like, "Yep, hey, guess what? Every book feels like that. Every book you're like, hey, it's completely different. Can I do it? I don't know. It's terrifying." And I was like, "Sounds terrifying, and also sounds exciting." So I would love to write another book, my own stuff, but also I want to write some Star Wars books, and
Mhm.
I have never written like a long form YA piece, and
Mhm.
I that's like again one of my first loves.
Mhm.
I love YA fiction. Because again, it's so intense with feelings.
Yeah.
Um, I'd love to write YA, I'd love to write adult, and 100% I'd love to write more Star Wars stuff.
Mhm. And there is more Star Wars stuff. Like, there's not just, High Republic stuff. There is this, I have Stephen Barnes, Mace Windu book over there, and there is a bunch of other stories to be told that are outside of, like, a series of books and stuff like that too. So maybe there's something out there for you, and there's something that you can do, because I mean, like I said, for me, you could write drivel on a page for
Oh,
an entire book, and I would probably read it because it's Star Wars related and it had you as an author. So I'd be like, yeah, sure,
oh.
no problem. And that's part of my problem, is like I'm always like 5 stars. That's it. Great book, amazing. Someone's like, it wasn't. I'm like, I don't know. It was Star Wars and it was Alyssa. So yeah, it was probably really good.
You're so
But
kind.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, and so I would be down for it for sure. I would think that you should commission, if you did write a book, you commission a fellow artist that's on this podcast right now to do the covers. That's what I would say. But
I would kill to be on a shelf next to people like Phil Noto and like
it's
everyone else that does the covers.
yeah.
Listen, there's so many like characters already. I'm like, what you wrote for our High Republic Adventures thing is so YA coded and like perfect. I'm like, you were made to write YA Star Wars books. But I'm like, there's so many characters I would love to see. I mean, like, even from like the new trilogy all the way back to like, I'm like, you would kill like depressing droid stories and like, you know what I mean? Like everything that has like hope, but then like soul crushing life remembrance of being like, I remember why I'm alive and I love this. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, okay. First off, I'm incredibly flattered. Second off, I have a really skewed vision of what I write because it's like that thing where if you hold an object right up against your eye, you're like, I don't know what it is.
Hmm.
Um,
mhm.
I can see it, I guess, but not really.
So
Um,
we're showing you what you write
yeah, I
right
mean,
now.
you are, because like I
Hmm.
experience it as I write it, and when I write something, if I'm writing a comic script, I'll only put something down on the page if I can see a way that I would draw it. And I'm not an artist, so I'm like, I want to make sure that this is doable, period. But like I'm like I have to go deep in my head and like visually see every moment,
Hmm.
and I also do the same thing with feelings. So I'm like, I have to visually see and feel every moment to make sure this works. And that's across any medium. So, so that makes me feel really happy that you're like, you would kill a sad droid story, because I'm like, oh, I guess I do write that. That's wild. Um,
You're right. Yes. Heavy emotions on
Hmm.
the whole spectrum and range. Like it's always interesting because those are my favorite types of comics, like the ones that make you feel something. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And there's nothing against action, superhero, anything like that, but like when you mix a major franchise with like real, I mean, and that's entirely what this franchise is about, is like
Hmm.
hope and like all these things. But it's like when you mix real raw emotions with that, utilizing characters either like new or old or whatever, it's like that's how we get so embedded culturally into these IPs, is
Hmm.
like feeling things because it's like this.
Oh yeah.
Bam. Yeah. Speechless.
You broke the internet with that.
Yeah.
oh God. Yeah, I mean,
I mean, it's true. I mean, I agree 100% with what Liana's saying. It's a thing. This is not. We wouldn't come on this episode to like praise everybody about what's going on here, but it's true. I have to tell you that right now. It is a wonderful having both of you in the Star Wars universe. I think it's excellent. I think it's more. We need more of it. And you mentioned off the beginning a little bit about seeing yourself. Like this is this in a universe for someone like you? You said, and it's true. The truth of the matter is, there's something for everyone in Star Wars at this point. I mean, again, the original trilogy, the original, 3 films, maybe there wasn't for everybody. But now over the number of years, the 40 years we've had, 40, 50 years that we've had Star Wars in our lives, there is really a story that probably will resonate with pretty much anybody who reads it. My wife's not a huge Star Wars fan, but I guarantee you one of these books or a comic issue or a short story or something would resonate with her on a different level than the original 3 movies would to her on screen. I think that, and it's including the children's TV shows that are on TV nowadays, and Clone Wars, and I mean, there's just so much out there. And I think that one of the other episodes I have this week, talking to Instagrammer and podcaster, This Dad Reads, and he's a father who talks about being a dad and all that stuff, but then has a love for Star Wars. And so like that's another avenue that comes into it, and something that I'll personally be able to connect with as a kid is teaching my son and showing my kid, and my daughter I should say too, because my daughter's one, Star Wars and all that stuff. Again, my wife will probably be over in the corner going like this, like, yeah, okay, I see what you're doing here. But it's like I said, there's something for everybody, and I think that's the future of it. I think both of you have contributed to that, putting something out there in the ether for people to enjoy, no matter what level of fan you are or who you are, gender, race, whatever, it doesn't really matter. There's something probably for Star Wars for you now.
That's the goal. I mean, that's what we want to see, because I think, I mean, I just never saw anyone like me on any axis growing up. Like, so getting to write queer Star Wars, and make new beautiful stuff is really, it's such an honor, and I'm glad that we got to do it together. There's a moment in this book where we've talked on this podcast a bit about how Driggett's one weakness is this friendship, and it's a friendship in a way that I think a lot of people who grew up as young girls will they'll see it and they'll recognize, and it's that friendship where you're like really tight, and then you're like, why do I feel so intensely about this person? And later on you're like, oh, it's because I was in love. Oh no. But this is it's a very, very common thing. But yeah, I mean, I think there's this moment after Driggett has been like, she's got this moment of vulnerability, then we'll see, and then she's like got to put her like, never mind, I'm a villain kind of vibe on. And there's a moment after that where the mask falls, and not on purpose. And the line that kills me every single time is she asks, why are you being kind to me? Like, she's like, I don't understand this, because she's somebody who doesn't ever expect that and doesn't think she deserves it. And I think hitting those, like, that's something that I hate to say is probably pretty relatable to a lot of people. And it's like, again, I keep talking about feelings because that's what my storytelling hinges on. And that's something that Liana is so good at. Sorry, I don't know if I can swear.
No, you're good.
And that's something that Liana is so good at. And you hit that moment in a way, I was like, this is so important. We have to hit this moment right. Because that's what people identify with. It's, you see your own reflection. Yes, you see your face, but you also see your experiences. You're like, oh, that character's just like me for real. You're like, I know what it's like to be in this place, and it makes you feel something. And I think when I think about how Star Wars is for everybody, that's something I think about a lot. Also, I love writing hot messes. Is my favorite thing to write. I love writing a hot mess.
There's hot messes in the Star Wars universe. That's the thing. Like that's the difference, and that's one of the things we get at for 50 years of Star Wars stuff is you have to write stories about creating, being different people and different stories and hot messes and all that stuff, because it's not just as simple as simple as it was in the first three films. It's like there's so much more. There's planets and universe, or in different places that have people on it of all. I mean, they monsters and creatures and whatever. And so it's really cool to see, I know, a little bit of everything. And I think that it's taking creators who are, uniquely talented in certain ways and things like that to bring these stories to light. And I think that it's the best person to tell these stories are the ones that it relates to the most. It's not very, I mean, me telling a Star Wars story that has characters like in this short story wouldn't probably resonate as much, but having someone who has an emotional connection to it, it does. And then also, I've said it many times, and as we finish up here, I'll say it again, is two creators that get along. That understand what each other and enjoy each other resonates on the page, shows on the page when you go to read it. Like there's definitely stories where I was like, this person had a fill-in artist who they didn't know do the thing, and it's like you can tell there's this disconnect between the artwork and the script itself and the story, and so this is amazing, and I will actually probably talk a little bit more about this anthology too, because Vladimir Popov is coming on also this week to talk about things. Who's a colorist who colored Nick Brokenshire's artwork on this story or in this anthology, and so Vlad will be on this week to chat. As well, so I'm excited about that too, and I think it was it's Nick's story. Who did the Nick's artwork, but I don't know who did the story on that. Is it Kevin? Because they usually work together, but I don't think it was. Maybe not. I don't know. I didn't do the research on that for this episode. Only for
I think it is
Vladimir's
Kevin.
episode. Is it Kevin?
Yeah,
It probably is, because I know Nick and Kevin. Yes, it is. It's Nick and Kevin.
yeah.
It's the brothers and sisters 8-page story towards the end.
Oh,
Yeah. And so
Mhm.
And so Kevin and Nick are two other people that I'd read and view and see their illustrations of Star Wars Forever and Ever and Ever as well. So there's that too. They were both on a couple of years ago talking about their book Dead Seas. But so I mean, Star Wars again, there's something for everybody, but there's also still stories to be told. There's still things to explore. There's still places to go and things like that, which is also amazing for fans like myself and for you two and the ones that are reading and buying your stuff. Is that there's always stories to be told, in my opinion. There's never a place we can't go, and I'm really excited about that in the future. But I really appreciate both of you taking time to talk about Star Wars and your comics and things like that right here on the podcast for Star Wars Week. And I hope that both of you will return at some point. I know Liana will be on. Liana's just like a given. Like it's like penciled in every couple of months. We're just like, okay, let's get Liana on here.
Very honored.
I
love this. Is like one of my favorite podcasts. So.
There you go. There you go. We'll get you back on. And one of these days, Liana, you'll actually come up here and visit in Maine. My convention, I put a one-day comic book show coming up. It's in May 31st, and we just solidified our creators for that one, so it's pretty excited. But we got Christopher Golden and Clay McLeod Chapman are both writers that write novels as well as comics, so they're coming up and doing that stuff as well. So pretty exciting stuff here. But yeah, Star Wars is awesome. I'm always going to say it. It's a really fun place to talk and hang out and be in. So I really appreciate you two taking the time out of your busy schedules. And I'm hoping you guys have fun at Star Wars Celebration. Like, I'm so jealous.
Oh, we're gonna have so much fun. And honestly, just getting to see Liana I was like, if something happened and I couldn't go to Celebration, I would be very sad, but I'd also be like, let's hang out. So
Yes,
I was like, we're gonna make this work out of country, whether we like it or not. It's happening.
100%.
I do like
It's
all the fact that you
happening.
guys have to go to Japan to hang out. That's also pretty awesome.
Literally.
You have to leave the U.S. to go to somewhere. You have to go somewhere else to be somewhere else
We're
to
extra.
discuss and
We're
hang out.
hot messes, like
You know what? It do be like that sometimes. And
mhm.
I feel like that's the thing. I feel like I only get to see the people I love and work with at conventions, which is so hard because we're all working, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I know you've just had a 16-hour workday, but do you want to hang out more? And it's like, the answer is yes. Also, I'm gonna turn into dust, but the
Yes.
answer is yes.
Yes, the answer is yes.
I'm half asleep. but I'll be enjoying it the whole time.
Then 2 weeks later, you're like, wait, we hung out? I don't remember that. I was in the days there. I don't remember that, but no, it's true though. I mean, it's what it is. I'm running my buddy's panel, my convention, Pine State Expo in Portland, Maine, the 19th, actually during celebration, Star Wars Celebration. I'm running the comic book panels with people, and it's like one of those things. I'm like all excited, but I'm like only gonna be able to talk to them about their stuff in the panel. And then that's like entire day. So I'm like, I'm going to go home and be like, oh, cool. I hung out with all these artists and creators, but I didn't actually hang out with them. We just talked business basically. So I'll be part of that as well. So yeah, it's fun. So hopefully you two get to hang out a little bit more in Japan and wherever, but I'm jealous in two ways. Going to Japan is number one. And then obviously having been Star Wars Celebration is another. So, one of these days they'll do a Star Wars Celebration in Portland, Maine, right? Make it easy for me.
Yeah. Totally.
The town would have no idea. The name would be like, "What is going on right now?" We cannot.
We're gonna manifest that for you. Like,
well, I mean, Boston would be fine. It's 3 hours to Boston, so I guess that would be fine. I can drive that easily. So maybe Star Wars Celebration Boston would be fun. Not that the city's handled.
Oh, I don't know if you guys bring people up for your con, but if you do, please bring me because I've never been to Maine, and
see.
I mean, and you seem so nice. So yeah. Liana,
we've talked about it. We've talked about it. We
let's
actually
go to Maine. Yeah.
It was Liana was supposed to be here. That was our thing. We had a little bit of I had a kid, and then the whole thing. So we made the convention free for the first couple of years. So we weren't paying to bring anybody. We're paying hotels or anything like that to bring people in. And so so in the future we are hoping to get people up. Our goal is next year to bring some more people up. So it actually would make sense, in my opinion, to have both of you at the same convention. So we'll work that out too. We'll talk in the future. I know how to get a hold of you two. But I do appreciate it. It's awesome. I'm so happy to celebrate Star Wars here with the two of you before you go to Star Wars Celebration. And I hope to see more. I know for 100% we're going to see more from Alyssa, because you got a comic book coming out in a couple of weeks based in the Star Wars universe. But I hope I see more of you, Liana, in the Star Wars universe, because I am pumped about that. So I'm actually want more comics from you too, by the way, just to let you know, in general, Liana. Like, come on. Let's go.
I'm working on it. I got you.
I can't wait.
But I do appreciate it, and we'll talk again soon. And thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was a delight. Thanks for Star Wars with us.